Hey everybody, I'm PJ, and this is my speedrun of Arcade Battletoads with Pimple. Completed in 38:53 by in-game time. This is also a deathless run. This is only my second ever deathless run, and as far as I know, this is the second ever deathless run. I haven't heard of anybody else getting it before. So Pimple's my favorite character, and this is it's an outstanding run. So I like to use Pimple as like the baseline when I explain differences between the Toads. So the commentary for this run is going to be mostly focusing on like overall mechanics of the game and flow of the game, and much less of character differences. So if you're interested in hearing about what makes Rash and Zitz different in more detail, I would recommend watching those videos when they're uploaded. As a general note, Rash and Zitz both move faster than Pimple. Rash is the fastest move speed Toad. That's true in every stage. And the animations and hitboxes for all of the basic attacks between all of the Toads are different. Pimple is generally the slowest. All of his animations are the slowest, but he tends to have really favorable hitboxes. So, in general, that's what's going on. So Battletoads Arcade is the fifth and final Battletoads game release. It's released in '94. I'm not sure if it was due to time constraints or budget or just lack of manpower, because I mean, Rare released 5 different Battletoads games within 3 years. But this game wasn't entirely finished. At the very least, it's missing one boss, and we suspect one extra stage. And the ending is kind of rushed as well. But even in this current form, this game's outstanding and probably my favorite arcade game. It's just a really fun beat 'em up and a really unique take on the arcade beat 'em up formula. So generally, like, arcade beat 'em ups, they require reactions and they require adjusting to what the game throws at you. But Battletoads has almost no randomness. All of the spawns in the entire game are fixed, and the enemy's initial movements are also fixed. So for each of the waves in this stage, for instance, I know where all of the rats are going to appear. I know how many rats are going to appear, how much health they have, and I know where I can stand to spawn camp them. And it makes it really interesting for my mindset, and not necessarily someone like Murphigator, who prefers like the more traditional Final Fight type beat 'em up. Because I like to go in and pattern things out and come up with these strict plans of where to stand and how to attack to clear all of the waves. So it's really great for that. But Battletoads Arcade is also one of the most punishing arcade games I've ever played. It's worth noting I am playing on the maximum difficulty. I'm going to show that in the settings at the end of the video. I'm playing on difficulty 6 out of 6. Default difficulty is 4. So what this changes is the amount of health that is refilled at the end of a stage. On normal, I think if you have like less than 5 or less than 7 health, it brings you up to that value. I don't remember what number it is. But on hardest, it only brings you up to 3 health if you have under 3, which is just a completely useless amount of health. You still die in one hit from everything. So that's one change. The amount of health you get back from flies is different. The number of flies is usually lower. And enemies are more aggressive and do more damage to you. They have the same amount of health. Certain objects, like the thrown boxes that you saw in Stage 1, those do more damage on hardest difficulty, which works in our favor. And this game also has some slight rank down mechanics. Well, rank up, rank down. It depends what kind of perspective you want to take. So if you're playing on normal and you die at certain points in some stages, it will despawn certain waves. On hardest difficulty, no matter how much you die, it's always going to spawn the same waves every time. You will never get any fewer or any more enemies. So it's pretty interesting in that way. So anyways, this is stage 2 out of 6. This is just another beat 'em up style stage, not a vehicle level. What makes this one interesting is that it's a beat 'em up that's strictly 2D. There is no depth access here. So you don't really have a good control of space. You don't have very many options to avoid enemies, especially because in many places in this stage we have SWAT rats, the rats that come out with guns, and one volley of bullets on this difficulty will drain your health completely from 100% to 0. These rats here. So unless you're in iframes or have killed the rats already, you will die from bullets. So it makes it really interesting to try and figure out a good way to get through this stage. And one of the critical components of this speedrun is managing our ammo. Managing what weapons we have available, where we can no longer carry weapons, like where we're forced to drop them, and when to use them. And it's kind of important in this stage. It's super important in stage 1 and absolutely critical for your survival in stage 5. Stage 5 like specifically puts these weapon boxes in places that will screw you over if you use them when they first show up, which is kind of neat. All right, so this is Karnath. Karnath begins this battle with 30 full seconds of invincibility, and he only takes damage after those 30 seconds by smash attacks, which is when your normal attack transforms into this, for Pimple, the football helmet charge. On maximum difficulty, Karnath reaches his max speed after 13 hits, so after 12 I reset his position over to the left, and then I do this little dance with him. So Pimple, being the slowest character, has to manipulate Karnath with the spacing of his dash attacks. So Karnath, once he pulls himself all the way back into the background and opens up his mouth to strike, that's when he's chosen his target. So what I'm doing with all of these attacks is hitting him from really far away, so that Karnath chooses his target based on where Pimple was during his dash attack. And the momentum from the dash attack carries me beyond the targeting point, and it makes it possible to dodge. If you don't set it up very specifically, each of those attacks, Pimple literally cannot dodge. I believe Karnath will strike 3 frames before Pimple gains control back, if I'm remembering right. So it's really important to manage your space well during that fight, and to have a really firm grasp of the hitboxes. So I guess I'll go over briefly what kind of options you have in this game. You have a few attacks. So it's just a 2-button game, jump and punch. If you push the punch button, when you're on top of an enemy, you'll pick them up, which is incredibly important for just grouping the enemies. You see it all the time in this stage. So just like grab an enemy at the beginning of a wave and throw them into another one to group them. If you're not overlapping, you'll do just jab string. And that'll end with a finisher, either a smash or just a basic knockdown. There's a dash attack, which will always be like the shoulder tackle or headbutt, depending on what toad you're using. This is jab string. It has a special property on the large general vermin. If you do a dash attack on a grounded enemy, you kick them, and the kicked enemy becomes a projectile that can hit any other enemy for the damage of 1 smash attack. So it's super good, like we saw there in the gold rat wave. Like, we pick one up, throw it into another one to group that side, and then just kick them around into each other, and eventually all of them are going to die. This stick is one of 3 weapons in the game. It does the damage of 1 smash attack again. Let's see, on a grounded enemy, if you press down an attack, it executes them. We'll see it on this this red frazzle here. Maybe we will. I think we get him here. Pimple's really slow, and those frazzles The frazzles on maximum difficulty recover before the dizzy animation is done being played. So the dizzying animation is still on the ground spinning long after they get up and become untargetable. So they're pretty tough. But yeah, that execute animation or attack is an instant kill on any rat. It can be done at any amount of health as long as they're on the ground. And then all of those finishers have a chance of becoming, well, not a chance, they absolutely will become a smash attack if the target's health is low enough. And you can redirect smash attacks. You can trick the game into letting you do a smash attack on one target while there are other full health targets nearby, and everybody that's hit by the smash attack takes full damage. So this game is just a whole lot of like understanding where the enemies are going to spawn from, and understanding how much health they have, so you can redirect smash attacks, and so you know when you're going to, like, when it's worth to use an execute versus just booting them, or waiting for them to stand up and use a shorter animation attack to kill them. And it makes it really interesting. So, the SWAT rats have a ton of health. They're really tough to kill. So we generally want to just like throw them off a ledge or use the gun to kill them. But what's really important about this gun is the property it has against these general vermin. So they have special amounts of health. A smash attack, well, really just any normal attack. A weak or strong headbutt or a weak or strong aerial will do 1 damage to them. And the gun and the jab string do 4 damage, but only the last bullet of the gun does damage. And those enemies are programmed to hard counterattack after 2 hits, so it's really an absolutely ingenious way to get around like taking a gun to one of those fights and just destroying them. Because the gun fires 4 bullets. So normally if you fire the gun, the first 2 bullets are going to invoke the counterattack. And then the damaging bullet's going to fly through him while he's counterattacking. So what I did for the 3 of the 4 general vermin in this stage so far is I take a gun to the fight, and I jump, and I fire 2 or 3 bullets over their head, so that the damaging bullet hits them. So, in the previous, this general vermin has 24 health, so I'm doing a 5-hit loop, 1 dash attack, and then jab string. And 2 hits with the stick is 2 damage as well. But on the other ones, they had 8 and 16 health each. So, by taking 1 gun, which has 5 shots of 4, we're able to do all of the damage except for 4 health on one of the general vermin. It's a tremendous time saver. So I'm setting up here again to carry a gun to a double general vermin battle. They have a total of 40 health. It's a 24 and a 16 health general vermin. The consequence of this, though, is that my means of controlling space are very limited now, because I can't use the gun here, so I can't do jab string or aerial. I can only attack by dash attacking. Any other action will shoot the gun, and if I get knocked down, then I drop the gun as well, and the rats will pick it up and kill me. So here I'm jumping over them so that only the last bullet hits them. The black general vermin has 24 health, and the other one, the orange one, has 16. And now I'm just doing this 2-hit loop. I'm using the property of the dash attack to gain some ground after the first hit, and then I do a retreating aerial to invoke the counterattack, and I'm safely out of the way. And then once I counterattack, I can repeat it. So it's a really ingenious loop. This is Robo Rat. He's a really tough fight. I would say he's easiest with Pimple once you understand how he works. It's 4 different phases, and each phase begins with 7 seconds of invincibility. And I think each phase, once he becomes vulnerable, only takes 10 hits, something like that. So what I'm doing for the first 2 phases is baiting a counterattack and then doing a reverse dash attack, so that the Robo Rat attacks where I was instead of where I am. It's a really great strategy. He's a bit tricky because he continues to store counterattack energy. So when you hit him once, he's going to counterattack, but very slowly. And if you hit him again and interrupt that counterattack, he's going to counterattack again a little bit quicker. And then again, the 3rd time, even quicker. And it ramps up to the point where he will counterattack literally 2 or 3 frames after you damage him. And that's when I bait the reverse hit, so I can safely avoid it. Third phase is a real pain because the third phase has counterattack energy that isn't very predictable. So sometimes when you hit the third phase rat, he just stands there and kicks you. And then fourth phase rat is pretty simple. Counterattacks after every 3 hits, and Pimple's aerial attack is a long enough recovery that I land and become vulnerable after the counterattack is already finished. And one other note is that kicking the scrap does, I believe, 112 damage, whereas a smash attack does 48. So it's a little bit under... oh no, a lot under 3 hits. About 2.5 smash attacks worth. So I like to save those for third phase because third phase is a lot harder to manage. This is a strat for the bonus stage, the jet plane, that is really only realistic with Pimple. With the other two, it's not even realistic with Pimple. Looks like it fell off the nose. But you can stand on the nose and just dash attack him there. It saves 1 jump in the second phase. But there's not a whole lot to mention here. We just smash this dude's car up. It is worth noting that Battletoads Arcade does not award extra lives for anything. Not even from this bonus round. You just get 50 points for this. So, it's a rather unforgiving game. Alright, so, we completed the first 3 true brawler stages in this game. It's time for a classic Battletoads vehicle level. So there are only 3 types of enemies in this stage. There are Grogs, they're the flying pigs. These things, Snappas, which you don't have to kill. Killing them doesn't speed up or slow down anything. And ugly mugs with eyeballs. We'll see them shortly here. And the Grogs have 3 different health values and aggression levels. The pasty pale Grogs that I was killing there are the lowest level. And the only attacks you can do in this stage are basic jab and jab finisher, which again is a smash attack if they have low enough health, or using the jump button, which is a super attack. And you have a limited number of those. Those are the Battletoads icons up next to Pimple's life counter. So the main thing that you want to do here is what just happened there. You want to wind up a smash attack and redirect it onto full health enemies. The smash attack in this stage is an instant kill. So whenever you have a low health Grog, or whenever you're weakening a Grog, or whenever there's a staggered wave, so like 4 enemies will spawn but the first 2 appear first, like this. We want to punch this weakened Grog and delay our smash attack to kill the black Grog, who has a ton of health. That way we just kill him and end the wave instantly. So this is one of the supers. It's an instant kill on anything that it touches. All of the Toads have different patterns for their specials. Pimple's is pretty good. He always centers himself in the screen and spirals outwards and then spirals back in. One thing to note, the special attack is on a timer, and the timer continues through hit stop. So when you hit an enemy and the screen stops for dramatic effect, that's hit stop. So you can only kill a certain number of enemies with that attack because the hit stop from killing the enemies still counts against the timer. Which is important for a wave later on, not terribly important right now. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to weaken the eyeballs. These eyeballs you can't kill in one hit. I'm going to redirect a smash attack to kill that Grog instantly. The thing that I grabbed during the eyeball wave was another super token. What I want to do here is punch these Grogs and try and redirect that smash attack. That one's really hard to do because the third black Grog wanders around. Only 2 enemies in this stage can be aggroed at a time, so only 2 of the black Grogs would chase me, and the third one just waits his turn. So it makes it really hard to redirect the smash attack onto them. It very much depends on where he decides to float around, so I didn't really have a chance. we're closing in on the end of the stage. There are 3 waves left. It's like 20 of these pale grogs, and then like 20 of the purple ones, and then 12 black ones. I'm doing an ingenious strat here. Those power-up tokens are supposed to break in 1 hit, but if you hit them just as they spawn, they take 2 hits. So they take the 1 hit plus the finisher. So what I do in that wave is I set up a smash attack redirect off of the power-up token, and it allows me to instantly kill half of that wave in 1 punch as they spawn. And doing that allows me to kill the other half 100% guaranteed with 1 super token. Otherwise, there are too many of them, and the hit stop expires the timer before they all die. Just like we saw in the Black Grog wave. I killed 11 out of the 12, which is the maximum number that you can kill before the timer expires. So, that was a really great stage. Pimple has a good time through there. Stage 5 is where the game starts to get really, really mad. And it throws a lot of like really staggered waves of different types of enemies at you, and it's very tough to manage. If you lose control of a wave, you're guaranteed to lose a life. Unlike most other beat 'em ups, there is no super joy in this game. The super joy is like, you know, the spinning roundhouse kick that you would do in Final Fight. It's the button that you push that drains some of your health in exchange for an invincible AoE attack that just gets you out of a bad situation. This game has no super joy. So, if you're put in a bad situation, they're just going to jab all of your health away, and that's the end of you. So, it's really important to maintain control at all points. And fortunately, I do with this run. That's why this run is deathless. But in some of the other runs, you'll see what happens if you aren't necessarily in control constantly. And like I alluded to before, this stage is really good about putting these boxes and these sticks in waves that aren't necessarily a big problem, and then it just punishes you like crazy afterwards by dumping a whole bunch of high aggression, high HP enemies on top of you. Right here, I'm using the box to destroy these grunties. So the grunties you can realistically only kill by kicking them. So you throw them or hit them a whole bunch, and then they start crawling away. And when they're in that animation, you can just walk up and kick them, and it's an instant kill. So the electric mace grunties in particular have a ton of health, and you would have to hit them, I don't know, a dozen times or so before they die. But instead, I can just spawn camp them, pick them up, and kick them. But the kick animation is rather slow, so sometimes when there's multiples of them, like the previous wave that I started talking about, with the 2 big grunties and the 1 delayed mace grunty, a box can serve as a kick for the purposes of finishing them off. So when they're in the crawling animation, I can throw the box at them, and they'll get launched into the foreground and die. So in this general vermin, I can't carry a gun to him. So I'm doing just the basic 5 damage loop, the dash attack into jab string. I was trying to do the basic dash attack and not the smash. Both of them do 1 damage, so they're equivalent, but there's a longer recovery, and my smash attack puts me further inside that sprite, so it's harder for me to start the jab string. So I was trying to do just the weak dash attacks on all of those hits, and each one saves quite a lot of time. This wave is the most difficult wave in the game, I think. It's just a really diabolical combination of enemies. The high health SWAT rat plus 2 mace grunties is super rough. And if you don't have the stick or the box for that wave, you are guaranteed to die. I remember in some of my earlier attempts, not quite this year, but when I was first working on the game, and I was trying to figure out what to do about that wave, I remember dying once and I lost an entire credit for it because there was just no way to recover. Like I couldn't focus on any of the threats without either getting shot or clubbed in the face. So it was just really rough. So I've been running this game for a number of years, and my previous best with Pimple was a 40-22. And since then, I did a super, super aggressive reroute that really looked into what I would do with all of these weapons and trying to find some more efficient grouping techniques for some of these enemies. And we managed to drop the time by another minute and a half, which is really crazy. But yeah, the route got significantly more aggressive and significantly less reliable, but it's very fun to do. That portrait in the background there is Admiral Oink. So I mentioned before that we suspect this game, well, not suspect, it's been confirmed that the game is unfinished. Admiral Oink is intended to be the boss of Stage 2. Instead, we fought Karnath, who is intended to be the boss of Stage 4, the jetpack stage. And there is no boss in that stage in this version. So, rip Admiral Oink. Alright, so what I'm doing here, during the entire swing of this stick, you are invincible. So it just makes dodging these balls a lot easier. And I need the stick for the next wave. I'm going to use the stick and both explosive crates to clear out this wave. It's a really rough one. There are 2 blue rats and 3 staggered gold rats. Gold rats are the highest aggression, highest damage, highest health. So I'm just trying to stall as much time as I can while the gold rats spawn, and then throw the box at them. And then we have this wave, which is super, super rough. The pal rat, the olive green one, is a 24 health general vermin, and the blue one is 16 health. They're both incredibly aggressive. Normally what happens here is, since you're flanked, if you lose control of the wave, or rather if you fail at initially gaining control of the wave, one of them grabs you and you lose your entire health bar. They just keep, your breakout animation gets cancelled by a command grab, and they take all your health away. Alright, Big Blag is the hardest boss in the game. He starts every phase with 8 seconds of invincibility. So, he's vulnerable now. I just bait out those 2 rolls as a convenient way to consistently waste time, so I know exactly when he's vulnerable. Same with these jumps. I always wait 3 jumps here before I hit him. So he has, he alternates between small and big forms until he dies. And he can only die in a big form. And ordinarily, it would take 3 small forms and 3 big forms. But if I hit him, if I hit him with only smash attacks, because they do more damage than the weak attacks, and hit him 6 times in every big form, 5 times in every small form, he will die on the 6th hit of the second big form. It is ridiculously hard to do so, and was a cause of much frustration. I forgot I got smashed by Big Blag here. That's embarrassing. Not a big deal, but embarrassing. Yeah, so the loops that you see on the small form, the dash attack into retreating aerial to bait the counterattack, is brand new and is incredibly difficult to do, but still more reliable than the old quick kill methods. So yeah, that fight is super tense, and if you miss that quick kill, it costs like 20 or 25 seconds and usually a life. So that was a great stage 5. Alright, so we're going into the final stage now. This is a 10-minute long shmup. No, I don't know if shmup is the right word, but a 10-minute long auto-scroller here. This stage is extremely tense. It's very easy to lose control of this stage, lose control of your power-ups, and get murdered. So, much like stage 4, you see the Battletoads icons next to my health at the top. Those are my supers. You'll see them later. Basically, you just spin in a circle and spray bullets everywhere. They're the same for every toad. And the thing that I just grabbed is a power-up. This is the spread gun. The power-ups in this stage are floating question marks. You'll see another one here in the bottom left. That's the flamethrower, obviously. So you have to shoot the floating question mark first, and then the power-up gets invincibility for about 2 seconds. And then if you shoot it after that point, you get the power-up. So all of the power-ups in this stage spawn at the same position on screen, based on a timer. And the timer for the power-ups is independent of the wave in most cases. So if I were in a wave where the enemies don't just like fly off screen and leave, so like not one of these, but if one of the later waves, if I were to just sit there, the game would continuously spawn power-ups at me and in the same sequence. And there are a few places in the stage where the power-up cycle resets, so no matter where you are in the power-up cycle, it'll start again fresh. And it's taken me a number of years to find the optimal timing for a lot of these power-ups. And again, it seems like it would just be a trivial thing, where you just, kill the things as quickly as they show up. And a lot of the manipulations that I do to force these power-ups to show up in convenient times, a lot of those are, just subtly disguised. You don't really see them. But my stage 6 times over the years have probably improved by about 40 seconds from better power-up management. It is a really tough thing. So one other thing, well, a few other things that are really tough about this stage. You can't move while firing. So to aim, you hold the fire button and then move the joystick around. To move, you don't hold the fire button and you move the joystick left or right. So dodging while killing enemies takes a lot of practice. And additionally, aiming is kind of tough because this game uses an 8-way joystick, so you can only aim in the standard 8 directions. So if an enemy takes like a really shallow angle on you, which we might see a little bit later in the red drone wave, you can't shoot it by holding the stick in one of the 8 directions and firing. So you have to like wiggle the stick between, say, left and up left to get that kind of shallow angle. And the pea shooter, as you can see, doesn't always fire true. I mean, rather, it never fires true. The bullets always oscillate. So I'm firing straight up right now and the bullets are shooting in all kinds of directions. So it makes it really hard to hit the target that you're intending to hit and to hit power-ups at the right time and hit a power-up without hitting the debris that's around it or the target that's around it. And it takes a lot of practice, and it's really frustrating to deal with initially. So there's a lot of really subtle tech that's in this stage that doesn't... it's not immediately apparent. So like these things, these drones can spawn pretty much anywhere. So I just I have to do my best to shoot them. That drone spawned directly behind a power-up, so I didn't actually see it until a few frames before I was about to be hit. Fortunately, in this wave, I'm guaranteed to get 2 3-ways and a laser. The laser has short range, so it can't kill these as they spawn, but it does make me turn faster, which helps. So the whole goal for this stage, besides the power-up management and whatnot, the whole plan is to accumulate the power-up tokens throughout the entire level, and then use all of them except for one on the red drone wave. Just because there are simply some patterns that are not winnable, based on bullet pattern and based on spawn position. So you're usually forced to use 2 of them, or else you take damage. But I usually just use them all down to 1, and I'm guaranteed to get a power-up drop before the rat copter here, and I need both of them for the final boss. So right here I'm going to stall a little bit. There's going to be a flamethrower that spawns in the bottom left, and that's an important, arguably the most important power-up to wait for. And I want to kill the top one of these turrets, cross over to the other side where it's safe, and wait. And once this guy starts moving back to the right, I can kill him. And that's going to delay long enough to get this 3-way to spawn. And that lets me start this fight with the spread gun. So this is one of the points where the power-up cycle does reset. There's going to be a spread that spawns in the upper left there. So instead of starting this fight with the pea shooter, I start with the spread gun and get a whole lot of more damage out. And that allows me to kill the first cycle here, immediately after the fireball wave. instead of waiting for another appearance. And that is critical because the power-ups spawn in set intervals throughout this entire fight now, from here until the end. And this is about a 6-minute long fight. Well, it used to be. It used to be 6 minutes long. Now it's about 4.5. So it's important to end that phase, phase 2, with the 3-way. I use one of my supers there to prevent, to save myself from turning around to kill the burners, and I use the other super here to kill the drones and collect the flamethrower. And I want to kill this guy with the flamethrower at the same time that the 3-way spawns there. That is the optimal way to handle this. So the goal here now is to do enough damage during the hands wave to not get the laser spawn. And the laser is going to be the next weapon. So the game can't spawn the flamethrower or the laser during the hands wave, but it's going to continue to try and follow the power-up spawns in the same cycle. So if I had waited a little bit longer, the next spawn was going to be laser. But since it can't spawn the laser, it's going to spawn the spread gun instead. So by finishing the hand wave earlier, we get the laser during this cycle, which does a ton of damage to him. And likewise, that's why it was really important to kill the drone wave at that point in the flamethrower and power-up cycle as well. Because if we got stuck with the flamethrower, like if we killed that phase too quickly, we would have the flamethrower for the first appearance of the hand, which is where you get the most damage in. But I can't actually reach him with the flamethrower, so it's important to get the flamethrowers and the lasers at the right time because their DPS is crazy. And it's also really important to be able to discard them during the hands wave. So I opted to take a hit there to get some more damage in on this guy because the flamethrower and the laser have some lag on their attack. So when you push the fire button, it's not immediately a full jet of fire. You have to hold the fire button, and the fire will gradually get longer until it hits him. So it's more important to me that I just hold my ground and get the full jet of fire in on him. So after that flamethrower power-up, it just alternates spread shots, top and bottom, top and bottom. Our benchmark for winning this fight is to kill him before we get the next laser power-up. So there should be a top spread gun, there it is, and the next power-up is going to be the laser. He's at defense level 1%, which is his final increment of health. And once the text box changes, he's dead, and I don't have to shoot him anymore. So I just focus on dodging so I don't lose the deathless run. And that's that. A really great stage 6. That's the first time I have ever killed Robo Mantis with Pimple before getting the laser spawn. Pimple has a much harder time on Robo Mantis because his shocked animation at the beginning of the fight is longer than Rash and Zitz. And Robo Mantis is actually vulnerable during that point. So he has like 2 or 3 fewer seconds to shoot Robo Mantis with the spread gun at the start of the fight. And it's a really critical health threshold there. So if you don't get enough damage on that first phase, then you get an entire extra cycle. And that's enough to throw off the power-up cycles enough to... I mean, it costs... Not getting the early cycle on phase 1 there costs like 15 or 20 seconds in that fight. It's really rough. Great way to end the run. Yeah, so here's our fantastic ending. I mean, it's... Pimple's artwork here is actually not that bad, but when you compare it to the artwork that you get in the demo, if you were to just let like the attract mode run, is just night and day. It's really crazy. Mission time 38:53. So the in-game timer in this game, I don't actually remember where it starts and stops the time. But back in the day, I timed like 10 or 12 runs in real time and compared it to the in-game times. and the times didn't match, but the times were always offset by the same amount. It was like whatever timing scheme I used in real time was like 42 seconds different than in-game time, but it was always the exact same offset. So whenever I'm playing a game that has an actual accurate in-game timer, I always like to use it. It just really simplifies things. Then I don't have to worry about things like frame rate of my recording and stuff like that. One other note, as you're going to see here when we get to the leaderboards, my board has been having some battery issues, so all of my legacy times and scores have been erased. So I only have 2 times on this leaderboard. In reality, that is the first 38 I've ever gotten with Pimple, and I've gotten about 15 other 39-minute runs, and everything besides that is over 40. But yeah, this is an outstanding run, second ever deathless run of this game, on hardest difficulty. For getting the fastest time, we get that special bit of text, and here you can see the settings. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please ask.